Miss Du Chiu, clothes from golden thread. Please, sir, don't prize a robe of golden thread. Please, sir, treasure your youthful years. When blossoms open on a branch, then break it off. Don't wait until the branch is bare. So we have finally reached the last poem of the 300 Tang poems. Actually, the collection has 320, and my videos are probably a little bit more because I've had to divide some of the longer poems into 2 or 3 videos, and I think I also included a couple of extra ones on the same topic and written on the same occasion by other poets. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that happened. So this poem has also another very interesting feature. It's not only the last one, it's the only one in the anthology that was presumably written by a woman. Not a very famous one. I mean, there are a few Tang women poets that are well known, but as far as I'm aware, this Miss Du Chiu is certainly not one of them. This poem is attributed to this Miss Du Chiu, which is something like Autumn Maid Du. But the editors of the complete Tang poems, for example, listed it as an anonymous poem. This attribution to Du Chiu comes from a mention of her in the works of another poet that we've encountered in this anthology, Du Mu. So Du Mu once wrote a poem about this lady, Autumn Maid Du, that he encountered in Jiangling, the future capital of the southern Ming Dynasty, and the city that before had been the place of the capital of the southern dynasties. And presenting that poem, Du Mu writes a short biography of this Autumn Maid Du, of which we will talk about in a minute. And basically, because of this figuring, because of this attribution, it has become generally accepted that this poem was written by Miss Du Chiu, especially in recent times. So who was this Du Chiu? Well, we have some information which I found on the net. So Du Chiu Niang, or Lady Du Chiu, she was born in Jinling, and she became a concubine of the military governor Li Qi at 15. After Li was executed for rebelling against Emperor Xianzong, Du served in the emperor's palace, and she was a favorite of Emperor Xianzong, and Emperor Muzong appointed her governess of his 6th son. After Li was falsely accused by Shang Shu and demoted, Du returned to Jingling. Okay, so what else can we say? Well, as for the anecdote that we mentioned, yeah, Du Mu met her and wrote a poem about her. Okay, so this is a pretty straightforward poem. It really has doesn't have that much to it in terms of imagery or obscure referencing. It's perfectly in line with the typical carpe diem poetry that you encounter in the West, in Latin poetry, in the Middle Ages, in the Renaissance. So and in later literature. So the message of the poem is pretty clear. It's, Colige Virgo Rosas, enjoy your youth. Youth never comes again, so if you have to prioritize between wealth and the pleasures of youth, enjoy the pleasures of youth while you're young. Wealth, worry about it later, because youth will never come again. Carpe diem, live the day. As opposed to the Western tradition, generally in the Western tradition, the Carpe Diem poems are written to women, probably because of a belief that there are probably conventional Western views that, I don't know, female beauty is evanescent and is the main asset of a woman. But here we have the inverse poem, in which it's a woman who's telling a man to enjoy the pleasures of youth. The golden thread has also been interpreted as a metaphor for office and power. And remember, this military governor of whom Mr. Chu was a concubine, Li Qi was an important governor in the south, and he became embroiled in a rebellion against the emperor in 807 and was executed with his son and cut at the waist. So he probably should have listened more to this concubine than he did. Okay, let's take a look at the two couplets very quickly, but I already advanced that, there won't be much to say. So the first couplet is the petition, you could say. Please, sir, don't prize a robe of golden thread. Please, sir, treasure your youthful years. So the message is pretty straightforwardly pushed forward, and there is a double repetition of the vocative imperative, if you wish. Please, sir, don't do this. Please, sir, do that. Don't prize luxurious robes and position, office, power. Treasure your youthful years. Enjoy your youth while it lasts. The second couplet is actually like a metaphor to illustrate the importance of enjoying youth while it's still there. It says, when blossoms open on a branch, then break it off. Don't wait until the branch is bare. You have to enjoy the flowers when they're blooming. So you pick the branch when the flowers are blooming. You don't pick it after the flowers have fallen in the summer or in autumn or in winter. And yeah, I think that's it. So it's a nice poem, but it's not very dense or dark or chock full of references that need an explanation. As I said, this is the last poem of the series. I hope you've enjoyed the reading and the commentary. I started this not almost, it was 2 years ago, at the end of February 2020, just before the great lockdown happened here in Spain. And we finished it now. Lockdown is still ongoing. Not lockdown, no, but restrictions. And well, I hope they will be gone soon. I hope the completion of this poetic series will also be associated metaphorically with the completion of the restrictions of COVID and its consequences. I don't intend, well, this collection is finished, but I have plans, probably in the near future, to continue this collection with the poems that, in my opinion, should have been included and were not. And we'll talk about that in a video, maybe perhaps in a couple of weeks' time. But I anticipate I will include probably no more than 60 poems, probably less, which I think would have complemented this collection. This collection is pretty complete, pretty Catholic in its tastes, in the proportions of and the poets that are represented in it. But there's still some minor glitches that I feel would probably benefit from a little bit more inclusion. But we'll talk about that later on. As I said, I hope you enjoy the series.